While you were talking, I thought, why do you think people, and you've answered this, but I think it's worth repeating, why do you think people find the law so attractive?
I think, I think to myself, if because my personality um, is just tell me what to do and I'll go do it.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm not a self starter. I'm a self starter if I know what to do, then I can, like at work or whatever, I can go do it. I've been presented with time after time, 3 or 4 times over the years, the opportunity to become a manager, and I don't want to do it, and that's not something that's been pressed upon my heart by God to do either. So because my personality is I'm a worker. You set me with a task, set me up with a task, I'll go do it. I'm good at that, and I think that is at least in part why a lot of people are just focused on the law because it gives me a list of things to do. And if I can just go do that, then everything will be okay. And even when they struggle and struggle and struggle and walk on that treadmill and never get anywhere, well, I can fall back on forgiveness. God will forgive me, even though, as we know, we've already been forgiven of all sins. But
Exactly.
I think
Yep.
if a person is performance based and they don't realize that they've already been forgiven of all sins, they'll fall back on the confession thing, or but for whatever reason they stay motivated to. I just want a list. Just I go to church every week. The preacher preaches a list of principles or a list of rules or a list of things that we're supposed to do. Now we'll go out and we'll go do that this week, and um, it's a it, I think it's just I'm trying to think of a word, but it's just the natural way that people are. Just give me something to do, and I'll go try to do it.
I've prayed that so many times. I've said, God, just tell me what you want me to do. I'll go do it. And here's what I hear. He'll say, okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to trust me.
Yeah.
And I'll go,
Hmm.
no, no, you misunderstand. You're not understanding what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'll say, no, I want you to trust me. And okay, you don't have any choice. I don't have any choice. Well, I guess
Yeah.
I do.
Right. There's a song that helped me many years ago by Petra. Um,
Mhm.
in 1995, they came out with a CD called No Doubt, and there's a song on there called "The Right Place." Um, you're in the right place, trusting only Him. You're in the right place. Kick back and just depend. You're in the right place to see what He can do. You're in the right place. He will come through. And the verses had to do with got no place to. I forget how it goes. Got no place to run. Got to look up to see the bottom. No visible support. No one there you can lean on. It's so the verses are like I'm between a rock and a hard place. There's nothing I can do. And then the chorus is just trust Him. You're in the right place. Just
Yes.
trusting Him. So
Yes.
back in the after that song had come out, I was going through a period in life, and this is after I had come to God's grace. But I was going through a period of doubt, and I was driving down the road for my job, and I was just sad and just I God, I don't know what to do. That is that type of thing. That song came on. I probably was playing the tape, and it just was a huge release for me because I had been so um, just not sure and so uncertain and so I felt a lot of condemnation because I felt like I wasn't doing all the things I should do. Like pull off this one highway, get onto another highway to go into this town here in Iowa called Jessup, and um, I pull up to a three-way stop. So I pull a T intersection, stop at the stop sign. Jessup had, back at the time, they don't have this anymore, because I would love to go back and take a picture. They don't have it anymore. But when you get into town there, a huge sign that said, Jessup, the right place. And I had just been emotionally wrecked because of the song The Right Place, and then there was that, and I just like, and it was awesome because
Yes.
I knew that God wants me to simply rest and to trust him, even if I don't see visible, if even if I can't see what he's doing, I don't know what's going on, I can just trust him, and that's the right place to be. You'll just trust him.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in that same Hebrews 10, he talks about all of the believers who never received the promise. They were martyred, they were killed, they were cut sawn in half, and yet they continued to believe. And I think that's his expectation for us is I've promised you will something. He's promised me something, and I may or may not see it, but I'm going to live like I'm going to. That's the choice
Right.
we get to make.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question that I've struggled a lot with. You see Franklin Graham get on the TV every once in a while, and he prays what they call the sinner's prayer. To
Mm-hmm.
me, that's almost become a Christian incantation that we got to say something. So let's say this little prayer over and over and over and over and over and over. And I don't think it's necessary for salvation. I think you just say, okay, Jesus, I want to know you. Boom,
Wow.
there you are. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think about that? Am I
I
being
think.
overcritical?
Well, I don't think you're being overcritical. I have the same type of criticism. I've come to a place where I'm okay when they do that, but I don't think it's necessary at all because what I've come to see just over the years, people come to believe in Christ in all kinds of different ways. Um,
Absolutely.
that a lot of the churches think they have to have an altar call and the person has to come forward and, like you said, pray the sinner's prayer or repeat after me, I believe in Jesus, or whatever, I believe that you are Lord, or whatever method that particular church has. I didn't come to Christ that way. I don't know personally many people that came to Christ that way. I got a friend who was the friend I talked about earlier, I think the same one, but who had kind of had a lot to do with me coming to the Lord. He never prayed that prayer with me, and he himself, uh, he wasn't a believer. He didn't even believe in God, and he was on his road up north, I think in Minnesota. I think he said, and I'll do the short version, but he found himself pulling over and helping somebody at the side of the road, and he finds himself saying, "I don't do this. That's not. I don't do this." And he was perplexed by why he was pulling over to help somebody. And then time went by, and I think he met some people, and they told him about Christ, and he realized that was Christ. It was Christ in him. That goes back to
Wow.
how
Wow.
did he come to believe? I don't know. But and then you'll hear other stories of, well, for me, I mean, I just heard about Jesus my entire life, and I've just always believed. I don't remember ever. Um, I never prayed the sinner's prayer. I just believed all my life. And then when the big change happened in my life, that friend of mine had been sharing bits and pieces. Well, what attracted me was I would get off of work at night. I worked at a gas station, and he would come in, and then we would just go walking downtown Main Street in Waverly, Iowa, which is where I lived. And he would just look up at the sky. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that just awesome? And he just had this peace about him. And I would leave, like maybe like every few months he would do that. And then I would leave my time with him and I would just say to God, God, I want that. I want what he's got. And I found it elusive. I mean, like, because I thought that I had to do something. I thought that I had to change. I thought that, that was my mindset. But then I found that he just drew me in that way, basically, just by knowing by seeing somebody else have peace that I was looking for. And so, to your question, I just think that was what happened with me. What happened with you happened with you. What happened with somebody else happened to somebody else. There's not a formula. There's not a certain way that it has to be. Like, the sinner's prayer, I can see how that would get a person's attention. Okay, yes, I know I'm a sinner. I know I've sinned. I want to be forgiven of my sins. I thank you for what you did on the cross. Whatever, and that can be a good thing. So
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't think it's necessary because people come to Christ in all kinds of ways that we probably just don't see. It's something that happens in their heart, not with a certain formula or certain words that they read or say.
Well, and in my resistant resistance to legalism mind, it sounds like a part of that sales pitch
Hmm.
that we were taught. And here's the formula. You just have them say this. When you go meet somebody and they're interested, have them say this. And I just always felt like, well, they're just trying to get me to sell them something.
Right.
And I'm not interested in that. I believe in lifestyle evangelism. That if I live like God loves me, then hopefully that becomes attractive to somebody. And they'll go, like you just said, I want that.
Hmm.
So,
Right.
last question. What do you talk about the stumbling stone that Paul's writing about in verse 30? I guess it's 32.
Yeah. Yeah. I lay in Zion a rock and a stumbling stone. I think that Jesus, I think, also brings that up, if I remember. Well, he's the chief cornerstone. The stone that the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone, a
Yes.
stumbling block, because they were, again, it goes back to they were pursuing righteousness by the law. And so, Jesus, obviously, in his earthly ministry, he preached a lot of law. Um, and I think a big part of that was, well, part of it was the Pharisees had come along and they had messed up the law. They were teaching it as it wasn't, and they were putting burdens on people and all kinds of unnecessary burdens. But also, I think Jesus was showing the law for what it really was. That if you want to be righteous, this is really what you have to do if you're going to follow the law. So you really have to do
All of
that.
it. Yeah. You have to
Yes,
do all of
all of it. Yep, you
it.
can't
Yep.
just do your best and let God do the rest. No, you have to do it. If you're going to be righteous by pursuing the law, you have to not only say I'm pursuing the law, you have to do it. You have to be a doer of the law, a doer of the work, a doer of everything that it says. And so Israel was pursuing that, and they were not finding it. So then along comes what Jesus really came for, what that old covenant law was leading to was the new covenant. The old covenant law, it was impossible to live by, and so Jesus came to offer himself as the sacrifice for all sins and to then rise again from the dead, and he could bring people along with him, raise them up to new life as well, simply by faith. And so I think that the reason he's a stumbling stone for the people of Israel, in context, it was talking about them, but I think it can also be he can also be a stumbling stone for anybody who is pursuing righteousness by works of any kind, Um, that's a stumbling stone because you stumble over this idea that it's just by faith. No, it can't be it can't just be by faith. It can't be that simple.
Simple.
And
Yep.
so they come up to the rock, the cornerstone of Jesus, and they stumble over him because it's by faith, and they're pursuing works. And until they see that their works can never ever attain righteousness, I like in I think it's the beginning of Romans 10. It says they have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. And that's the stumbling stone. They have a zeal for God, but it's not according to the knowledge. And the knowledge that he's talking about is that it's by faith, not by pursuing the law of righteousness. So they stumble over that stumbling stone, and until they realize that they can't do it, and they just simply believe, they're going to keep on stumbling.
And that stumbling stone still exists today for a lot of people who think I have to earn my salvation.
Yeah.
You think, yeah. So,
Yeah.
wow. You were the right one for this conversation. We appreciate all of
Oh, I
it.
appreciate it. It is the type of thing I like to talk about. That's for sure.
Yeah. And you have a live podcast coming up, don't you? Did Lori tell me that? You,
Oh yes. So I think by the time this probably airs, with Mike Adams of the Unsunday Show podcast,
Mhm.
he asked me if I would be a part of a live. It'll be my first ever live stream. Well, I've
Wow.
done Facebook Live before, I guess, by myself, but this will be the first time I've ever done a YouTube Live, and I've ever done a live thing with somebody else. So that'll be
What do you
available
know?
on the
Do you know what you're going to
Unsunday
be?
Show podcast.
Do you know what you'll be talking about?
He told me, but I can't remember. Oh, oh, speaking of like stumbling stones, strongholds. Um, the strongholds
Wow.
that keep people that we've dealt with, like in the church, like that keep people in legalism, and that you know that keep people from coming to grace, and that kind of thing. So that should be a really good conversation.
That could be an excellent conversation. I just got back from a Grace conversation in Dallas at Andrew Farley's church, the Grace Church in Dallas. And, excuse me, I met a young man there by the name of Kyle Winkler. He's out
Okay.
of Florida, South Florida. Wow, what a dynamic young man this guy is. He just turned 40, so he's a young man to me.
Yeah.
That
No, I hear
really,
you.
I really, really enjoyed him. You might look him up if you think about it,
Yeah, I think
because
I've heard the name. I'm sure I've heard that name. It sounded
his
familiar to
podcast is
me.
called "Shut Up, Devil" is the name of his podcast.
Shut up, devil. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, well, we've managed to burn an hour.
All
And
right.
just yep.
Doesn't
So
feel
it'll
like
be.
it. It seems like it
It
just
doesn't.
went by.
It doesn't. It's fun talking to you. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you too, Rick. I appreciate you having me on here again. It's been
Yep.
really great.
Yep. And I want to say to all of you for thank you for watching and listening to this podcast. And um, be sure to look up Joel and Mike Kapler at tell us the podcast you guys do.
So the Growing in Grace
Growing in
podcast
Grace.
with Mike and
Yeah.
yeah, with Mike and Joel, and it's growingingrace.org. Growingingrace.org is basically the website. Then you can listen on, of course, all the all the podcasting apps.
Yep. And they've done over how many have you done? 1,050 or
Let's
something?
see. At the time of this recording, we just got we'll be putting out 1,038. So
Wow.
about 20 years and 8 months.
And
Yeah.
I think that you guys will enjoy about this podcast is that they're entertaining. They talk about fun stuff, and then they talk about really serious truths about about this grace gospel, this what Mike calls the grace gospel, and
Hmm.
so it's worth looking up and listening to. I've always enjoyed them, and they're only like 18 minutes long. 18 to 20 minutes, I think, is what those your podcasts
Yeah,
are.
yeah. We
So,
try to, bite-sized chunks. If for a lot of people don't have a lot of attention spans like they used to. So,
and
it's
that's why I'll break this up into 3 20-minute sessions.
right. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So,
I think
all
that's
right. Well,
helpful.
yep. All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we're tuning in
Tuning
this
in.
radio dial, and we'll see you next week.